I'm sorry I can't be there today, but I am the matron of honor in my sister's big fat Indian Italian wedding. So I am tending to wedding duties and family duties today, and am so grateful to Dr. Bonham for graciously allowing me to submit this video presentation to you all. So the movie I selected to discuss themes in higher education is Legally Blonde, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen the movie. But if not, just a brief synopsis. It's about Elle Woods, who is the quintessential blonde beauty from Bel Air. Her boyfriend, Warner Huntington III, is an East Coast legacy. He's destined for Harvard Law. His family has connections. And as they are finishing up their senior year of college, they go out on what Elle thinks is a romantic dinner, and it's actually Warner's opportunity to break up with her. He lets her know that if he's to ever become a senator, by the time he's 30 years old, he needs a Jackie in his life and not a Marilyn. And rather than wallowing in self-pity, Elle Woods decides to prove herself as the ideal mate for Warner. She makes acceptance into Harvard Law a priority, and winning Warner back is her ultimate goal. However, once she gets in, Elle realizes that she has to jump through several hoops. She has to dispel stereotypes and really prove who she is to her professors and her classmates, and I feel to an extent to herself. So she does a lot of hard work. She puts in hours, and along the way she learns that she's smart, she's full of ambition, and she's capable of being a successful lawyer, and she doesn't need Warner in her life to be a success. So the issues that I feel this film addresses are issues dealing with stereotypes and how those play into the admissions process, access to education, and also assimilating into campus culture. So you all should have just watched a clip, and it was of the admissions counselors at Harvard Law watching Elle's application video. And in the video, you see that Elle Woods is a walking, talking stereotype. She's a bubbly, perky blonde. She wears hot pink high heel shoes. She has a trained chihuahua she carries around in a designer handbag. You watch her float around in a pool and reference her responsibilities as the sorority president and a fan of Days of Our Lives. And at the end, you see a group of bewildered gentlemen staring at the screen, speechless for just a few minutes. And they're like, well, okay, what do we do with this? But then you hear an admissions officer speak up, and he's like, well, you know, they look at Elle's extracurricular activities. They see dedication. She's committed. She takes on a lot of different projects. They tout her 4.0 GPA. She was a fashion major, and that makes her unique and diverse. I'm sure Harvard Law doesn't get many fashion majors who apply for admission. And then she had 179 on her LSAT. And she did have to work hard for that score. You see Elle in the movie go through nights where she has to skip out on all the social activities and the parties because she's studying, she's building her vocabulary, and she's making sure that she gets a good score on the LSAT. And so the scene ends with the admissions officers granting Elle Woods admission to Harvard Law. And you sort of see their process and how they got to that decision. And it made me think about the thoughtful and deliberate decisions that are made by admissions counselors at universities across the country. But it also made me think about stereotypes and how those can play into the admissions process. And while we know that the process needs to be unbiased and there are safeguards in place to make them as unbiased as possible, first impressions mean a lot. And so whether your first impression comes from an essay written by the student or a video like Elle Woods submitted, these thoughts run through your mind that a lot of times are based on stereotypes. So after watching the movie, I had several questions running through my head about the admissions process. What are admissions officers really looking for when they read thousands of applications? What makes a potential student stand out? What are the unintended consequences of stereotypes in the admissions process? And what safeguards are in place to guarantee an unbiased process that does not allow stereotypes to influence the admissions decisions? In addition to that, So we have the admissions piece, and then it made me think about access to education as well. It's something that concerns me, and I know that a lot of top schools really prioritize ranking over other areas of programmatic and educational needs or responsibilities. I think about the low-income student who may be overlooked because their SAT score wasn't within a certain percentile, or they didn't have a 4.0 GPA, but the student also had to work after school to help a single parent make ends meet, or even had to take on childcare responsibilities of younger siblings because a parent had to work a second job. There are a lot of low-income students who are juggling multiple responsibilities, and I don't want that to be overlooked in the admissions process. And I know because I was one of those students. I was a first-generation college student. I grew up in a single-parent home, and I had a disabled mother on top of that. I was an only child, so I didn't have other siblings to sort of help me with the responsibilities. But with a mother with a debilitating illness like MS, I know that I had to grow up a lot sooner than a lot of my friends, and I had responsibilities outside of school. But my grades were good, and I was the salutatorian of my class. I had a lot of extracurricular activities, but there was this whole other realm of my life, and I wonder how much of that admissions counselors know, and how much of that they see, and how much of that is factored into the admissions decision. So, but in addition to the admissions process, how stereotypes could possibly play into that, and access to education, another issue is the adaptability and assimilation into campus culture. While Elle Woods is known for her fashion sense, you do sort of see her persona start to change throughout the movie. She certainly dresses fashionably, but when she realizes people are not taking her seriously and she's being excluded from study groups and she's not invited to hang out with the cool law school kids, she realizes maybe she needs to buckle down and she needs to prove herself and show everyone that she is capable, she is intelligent, and she's a pretty damn good lawyer. So, and I think everyone has to go through this when they go to college. College students are expected to grow, and you're expected to experience new things, and you're expected to gain a new worldview, and all these things come together, and they do help dictate your career path and what your life goals may be. So overall, I think Legally Blonde does a great job of addressing issues within higher education. Some of the depictions in the movie are over the top, and that is for dramatic and comedic value, but I think there's a lot to learn about the higher education process, and I think it was interesting to look at it in terms of both an Ivy League school and also a professional school within that Ivy League institution. And Elle Woods may not be considered the best academic role model, at least not in the beginning of the movie. But in many ways, as you see her grow throughout the film, I think she can teach young people a lot, and especially the lesson of believing in yourself to accomplish whatever your goals may be. Even if others think you can't handle a certain program or a certain school, or they think a particular career path might not be the right one for you, if you believe in yourself, you think you can do it, you have strong personal conviction to be successful and make meaningful contributions, then it can certainly happen with a little hard work. So that's my commentary on Legally Blonde. I hope you enjoyed the clip. I hope you enjoyed my comments. Again, I'm sorry I can't be there with you guys. I will see you in October, and wish me luck as I get through this big fat Italian Indian wedding. Take care. Bye.